в один надо что-то делать. Хедшот. Отлично. Кулаки тиммейтам.
Flashpoint 3 as we continue to grind through our upper bracket round of 16. We had what I would consider 2 upsets yesterday as Double Pony defeats Vitality and Astralis 2-0 over OG. And Vitality and OG will now be facing each other in the losers bracket, which is a very exciting match. But to join me to talk about today's games are Maui Snake and Lex once more. Are you excited to talk about Big versus Complexity?
Yeah, this is another match on paper that these teams should be really evenly facing off against each other.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a few weeks ago they played at Fun Spark, I believe. So, I mean, it's fresh rematch between these two teams. Both have a somewhat limited map pool, so I'm expecting a close series here.
All right, well, let's start and get things going with Big.
Quickly.
Because this is going to be something very interesting because they had a really strong performance last year. In fact, reaching #1 at times on the HLTV rankings. But they've struggled a little bit so far in 2021. And we're going to talk about Complexity instead. So here we go. Complexity. They're starting here. Now, they've also made some roster changes recently by bringing JKS into this roster. Poison has been on and off, taking some breaks, now back full-time with the lineup. Is this the moment that Complexity is going to need to gel here? How have they gotten themselves together? Because at first, JKS seemed to be struggling a little bit on figuring out how to play in this roster, despite being a well-known and very talented player individually.
Yeah, I think JKS in the beginning didn't realize that he had to be making a little bit more space for his team because back on those Australian lineups, 100 Thieves, Renegades, they were all making space for him, but he's actually not the best clutcher on his team anymore. It's Blame F.
Yeah, I think JKS, you know, despite maybe struggling with consistency, like I think across his career, you could describe him as being one of the most talented and consistent riflers to come out of the Australian scene. So, you know, I think you expect that overall he's going to continue to improve and get comfortable in this lineup, and I think they need it considering this is the start of their major run, and you need to bring all 5 players to the table and have them performing. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not JKS can deliver.
All right, well, let's take a look at Big next before we go into our veto. As I said, excellent 2020, but questions abound here in 2021. Have Big peaked? Was last year their peak with this lineup? Or is there a way that they can get back into form in time for the major?
Yeah, it feels like Big kind of lost their way, or teams just kind of figured them out, I would say, where they have this structured style. I mean, we last year were really loving all the executes that they were throwing out. We were loving how they always worked together. They were trading off of each other. But I think everybody kind of knows that's coming now. And Big, they're not necessarily going to reinvent the wheel overnight. So it's just making sure that their players are in tip-top form and that they're playing to their win conditions in such a way that they can be consistent and probably should take down a team like Complexity if they want to reach back and find that #1 form once again.
Yeah, I mean, Complexity is a team in NA org that I think I'm always going to personally just kind of root for and hope the best for. And, you know, to be honest, I think they've definitely got the tools necessary and available to them to make that happen. And it really is a question of, is this the starting point for Big to kind of reform some of that form that maybe they had in the prior year? Because, you know, when it comes to Big, I think that Tabson runs a tight ship. I think he's a player that has consistently been one of the most talented riflers from Germany to continuously show that for him, and I'd love to see his roster do the same.
So we did have you guys select a couple of players from each of these rosters to look at as kind of the key focal points for the match right now. And you guys did, in fact, pick Xantares from Big and Config from Complexity. So what is it about these 2 players that you think is going to be crucial in this matchup?
I mean, these 2 are just mechanical aimers. I mean, between Xantares and Config, they're almost always the most fun players to watch in the server. And statistically speaking, at least in the last month, they're the top performers for their team. Xantares rocking a 1.14 HLTV rating, 1.22 for Config. Definitely need them both to be stepping up in a series like this, where I would call it a close one.
Yeah, I think the thing is, for me, Xantares is kind of a product of the whole Big system, but as we highlighted in the bullet point to the right, that Config kind of works in tandem with Rush a lot. I mean, it's him and Rush who are playing a lot of bomb sites together. They are frequently out as the kind of entry duo in most of the hits from Complexity. So for Config, he kind of has his brother-in-arms there in Rush, and he will be making space for JKS there as well. Xantares kind of fits the mold for Big round by round. around as to who is really going to be. He's going to be helping Surson sometimes, but sometimes Keto's making space for Xantarez. All in all, they're both sensational riflers, and in terms of just accurate time to kill, they have to be some of the highest in the world because their rifles are just fantastic.
Is it fair to say that Big always has been more than the sum of their parts, whereas Complexity has relied more on individual ability? Is that a fair way to characterize these teams?
I think so. I think, you know, when it comes to the history of Big, you know, harkening back to the days of God B, and Tabson certainly is going to carry on that legacy to some extent, where the teamwork and the system that they have in place, it's always going to be a struggle to kind of overcome that. And depending on preparation, I think Complexity definitely has the individual skill there needed to, you know, to at least put up a good fight against Big. Question is whether or not they're over-reliant on that consistency from their players.
Well, let's get into the veto for our first best of 3 of the day. Figure out which maps we are indeed going to be looking at between these two teams. Right off the bat, Complexity with the train ban. Keep in mind that we still are on the old map pool. Ancient is not in the pool for the entirety of this RMR, even though it will be later on for the major.
Yeah, and then we've got the ban from Big on Inferno. It's a map that they've had a lot of trouble with. It's kind of their perma veto, as a matter of fact, nowadays. And these teams played a couple weeks ago, and I think we saw Dust 2 and Mirage come out there. I think there's a good chance for that, but actually, Complexity are going for kind of a pocket pick in Nuke. So yeah, like, I mean, Lex, what do you like about it?
I mean, we were kind of like going through our own vetoes before the series starts, right? And we're all kind of trying to theory craft what we're going to expect the maps. And honestly, Complexity needs something like this. They've been pretty good on Nuke, I think, in the last month and a half or so, whereas Big has struggled. So, I mean, if you're going to go up 1-0 early on in the series, I think this totally changes the landscape for Complexity and their outcome here, potentially winning the series.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Nuke is that the best player for Complexity gets to have the most impact, and that's Blame F. And Blame F is going to be fighting outside a lot of the time on the CT side and on the T side as well. He's frequently lurking out there, trying to find timings with the misdirection that the rest of his team is throwing the way of Big. And if Big can't really pick up on those signs, it's going to actually be Tabson versus Blame F head-to-head outside on Nuke. Dust 2 is, I mean, going to that, it's really a pick that Big have actually shown a lot of consistency on in the past year, and Mirage is just a super comfortable map for both of these teams. A lot of the times Big was picking this in 2020, that was really their main wheelhouse, was Mirage and D2. So this is a really comfy veto for, I'd say, both teams, but I'm kind of liking the Nuke pick a lot from Complexity.
I think considering how close we're expecting the series to be across maps like Dust 2 and Mirage, as just previously discussed, that series was only a week or two ago, so I expect that could be the decider. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's hear actually what you guys think is going to happen in terms of your predictions for this match as well, because this, like you said, the Nuke pick may be a little bit interesting. Is that going to be enough to throw Big off their game or get a Complexity out to an early lead?
Man, I gotta think that if you're Complexity here, you're coming into this series prepared, and if you've got a Nuke pick, I want to almost give it a 1-0 start for them in this series, but I think Big is still going to be a much more formidable opponent than Complexity is here, so I'm going to go with Big.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to go with Complexity. I think the Nuke pick is actually really strong for them, and I think that last time around, both maps went to OT. Big just barely edged it out, and this time I think Complexity, they are going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to learn from those mistakes, and I think they're going to play a little bit better, and I think they're going to take it.
I picked Complexity just based on the current form of Big because I'm lacking a little bit of confidence, and I believe with additional time that we're going to be able to see the Complexity roster gel together a little bit better. But we're going to get our caster predictions as well. It will be Semler and Launders who are bringing us the action in this matchup. So who are you guys taking, having seen the veto?
I don't know. Is that me, Launders? I haven't worn glasses in like 6 months. I don't know where these pictures are coming from now. There's got to be new.
It's throwback Semler.
Throwback Semler, yeah.
If we were to make a series of action figures of you, Semler, that would be the throwback version.
Yeah, it'd be sick. And then they would just cost more and more as I gained mass over the years. I started out as a stick figure.
Gain mass, gain facial hair.
Yeah.
They make it an NFT, and then it'd be millions of dollars.
Don't start talking about NFTs. You won't shut money up for hours on that. All right, so what do you think about this one, man? I mean, I feel like this is a real 50-50 if we go on the recent track record between these two teams. They're really evenly matched.
Definitely. I think the big difference is the veto, because it was like Dust 2 Mirage pretty much every single time. And so, like, I think the last 4 or 5 Big won 2-0, and it's always been a 2-map series. But this time, Nuke comes in, and, like, as was brought up by you guys on the desk. Like, looking at their vetoes, like, they aren't very good. The fact that you have the permaban Inferno, it's a map everyone's supposed to be at least competent on, is a bit scary for Big.
We were kind of talking about it going into it, where I was calling the A-Ramp Simulator as the first map. You know, if Complexity got to pick, I thought we were going to Vertigo. And no, they go Nuke, which is the other one, right? You know, if they wanted to get clever. But I thought, you know, they've been looking good on Vertigo. I thought that was where they were going to take it. So maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they scrimmed recently. They have some info. That's always the game, guys. We need sleuths. We need to hire some spies to get in those scrimmage rooms and, you know, start figuring out what these guys are up to.
I'm pretty sure they would ban those spies from the scrimmage rooms.
That's it. They have to find them first. See, that's the whole point of being a spy. You're not a good spy if they know you're a spy.
It's true. Temporary spies are not very useful. I do admit that. I do admit that.
You'll be the first one I send it. You know, we'll figure this out. Don't mind me, gentlemen. Just here with my what is it, mojito? No, what were you guys drinking?
Margaritas.
Margarita. There you go.
Of course.
All right, and thank you very much to Unicorn, of course, our official betting partner here at Flashpoint 3. I think we're about ready to get into the game, though, everybody, and I can't wait to start. Getting a rematch from
Day 2, baby.
Day 2.
Let's
That's
go.
right. One of these teams is going to be heading into the loser's bracket. Again, if you lose twice right off the bat, you head home with no RMR points. So a lot on the line for both of these teams. Don't want to head down into the lower bracket too early here. So Semler, Wanders, let's get into it.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Monty. And this is going to be a pretty exciting rematch, no matter how we toss it, because we have a situation where, you know, new map is coming into the best of 3. What's on your mind?
Oh, what's on my mind is he's right. You don't want to drop into that lower bracket. I was checking it out, dude. It's like we're living in a dream world. Vitality and OG are already in an elimination match.
Yeah.
In the first round of the bracket. That's how cutthroat this tournament is.
Yeah, it's pretty ruthless. I mean, it feels like Vitality have more problems than OG did. You got to cast that match yesterday. The first map
That was such a brutal one.
fantastic, but yeah, tough. That was like Inferno through thick and thin, all the way to triple OT. But Vitality just had countless problems basically in their matchup. So
French CS, man, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
They just self-destruct eventually, and then there's nothing to be done but to blow up the roster and start over. It feels like Vitality are in that kind of phase now. I mean, dude, if you got Zywoo, who going into this tournament still had a 1.3 rating, despite having career worst performances going into it, right? He's still up there in terms of performance, and you can't make that work. I mean, it speaks to big problems on the roster.
yeah, it's pretty strange. They had like 3 players kind of turning off at once, which is really weird, especially when you bring in a new player like Kyojin. But we're, here obviously to talk about
The little tank.
And Big. The little tank. Yeah, that's a good one.
You saw that double pony video?
Oh man, that was too funny.
So good.
That was quality. I recommend. It's at Double Pony, I think, on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
double DBL_pony.
Yeah.
And it's the pinned tweet. Highly recommend you go watch that video. Top shelf memes.
And it's PONEY. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Pone.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, they have to say it with a French accent. You know, pone.
Pone. JKS, man, I thought that was funny. Man on your screen. Coming into the team, at first, it was a slow start. It didn't look really good for JKS. His stats weren't there, and he was hired to be an Oboe replacement who was in the green in almost every stats category on complexity throughout the year, and then had this abrupt time where he left. And I thought that JKS was a shoo-in. He was going to upgrade in almost every single way. Spots-wise, it seemed like it made sense. Role-wise, it seemed like he was there. And he just, JKS just more experience. But I think that didn't seem like the case at first. But now, I mean, he's consistently at the top of the scoreboard alongside Blame F. And it feels like, when Complexity lose, it's definitely not because of those two.
No, when Complexity loses, it feels like it's more to do with config, not following up on Rush's plays. Rush is out there trying to create room for the team. If the team isn't following up behind him, capitalizing on that, you're going to see issues. So I feel like, yeah, it's good to point that out. There's other teamwork aspects that kind of fall apart, or it's the individual performance of guys like Config who need to be smashing faces. And if he's missing those shots, you can tell that the team suffers because they rely heavily on his firepower as well. I mean, he is seen as one of the great talents of CSGO, and he's had one of that up and down kind of career where it's just, really high, but then also really low. And he is currently trying to fight his way back up to prove that, he got a haircut. Want to prove that he's on the mix. But yeah, JKS looking sharp. Looking sharp going into this match.
Yeah, I like that config story a lot. I mean, the expectations are incredibly high. And I mean, he's always had like a decent floor, but because his highs are so high, it makes it look way worse.
Exactly.
In a bad game. But yeah, it's always nice to be, I guess, underrated in some way. But okay, we got some action already towards the Rams. Then Terrace 1-for-1. Tizian drops a flash out in front of him, allows for his teammate to peek as well, but Searson ends up getting taken down. They know there might be one more body here, and Tizian tries to do a lot of work, but they are down to just 2 players. One of them in the back of the site taps in, trying to figure out which side of the ramp someone will peek from. Very patient and calm about holding this angle on the USP, and Manny makes it look so smooth. That taps in, but it is BlameF. There's Maui on the desk, allotted as one of the best clutchers. A top 6 player last year by HLTV standards. Does some damage here to Tabson. Has info on one, but doesn't know about this flank creeping up behind him. Bullet whizzes by his head. He doesn't respond just yet on that low sense, of course. 50 seconds up and his opponent flees. Is there a chance he can isolate this fight? But more importantly, can he actually snake this bomb? No, Tabson will make sure he doesn't get his paws on it. Takes him out and ends the round.
Brilliant work from Big. And going into this match, you know, it feels to me like Big surviving in these tournaments recently has just been individual players having career performances on certain maps that managed to get them through in the clutch, right? I always think about Astralis at the Blast match where, you know, Searson just had a god-tier performance on Inferno and put Astralis down. You know, stuff like that when it comes to Big. I mean, if Tabson has shown up to play today and he's going to start hitting shots, I mean, it feels like it's been a long time since we've been able to say that the in-game leader is here to really, you know, carry a lot of the load in terms of firepower. If he's showing up here, that can only bode well for Big. Of course, it's the pistol round, so we still have to kind of like pump the brakes just a little bit.
Sure, don't want to get too excited, but yeah, it's true that I mean, Tabson has had great swings in his career, but has always been looked at as like this great German talent, and it seemed like the common mistake to, you know, have the best player in your team start IGLing when things go wrong. But I mean, he got the team to #1. He still managed to maintain his stats somehow, even though they go up and down. And yeah, kind of an enigma in that regard. And here he is, the man we talk about. Opening kill in the second round, and it is a force up here with 1 AK in rotation, but a great flash tactic to take out Poison to the back of red, and Rush wants to encroach on his opponent down here in secret. They'll also use a flash tactic to try to reclaim this bit of map control, but are down a player. Looks like it's time to take over lobby control.
Yeah, this is really nice. A lot of presence out in the yard, and so they want to get a little bit more comfort here. Nice spot by JKS. Close quarters with that deagle. It might as well be a shotgun. It's so brutal how much damage this guy does. Big swing, and that's how you have to do it. Don't let him get a second shot off. You have to nuke him immediately. And there we go. Clean work coming in from Big. Dude, they're hitting shots.
Yeah.
It's so tough when it comes into this series because Big, they feel like they can beat anybody and they can certainly lose to anybody these days. But when it comes to complexity, for whatever reason, they love playing against complexity. They've 2-0'd them. So it's worth pointing out going into the series, Complexity are on a 6-map losing streak right now. They haven't done anything in the last week. They've just been getting beat up on. And then Big have beaten them 4-0 in the last 2 times they faced. So Big have got Complexity's number. There's a lot on Complexity.
And the only thing that changes anything about the story right now is just that we get a new map finally. It's always Dust 2 Mirage over and over again. And Complexity finally kind of put their ego away on those 2 maps. I'm like, all right, let's try to change it up. Because clearly we aren't as good as we think.
I was kind of hoping that we would go again, though. You know, third time's the charm.
Right?
You know,
Sure.
just go Mirage Dust 2. Let's go. I mean, eventually BlameF would have to figure it out, right?
Yeah, that's true. You roll the dice enough times. Eventually you're going to come up 6s. BlameF on the deagle on the cross. Jormungandr. He's the guy who he spends most of his time outside the yard. And Config somehow making that P250 look like it can spray, pulling down, controlling that spray. Leaving Rush alone. Bomb in hand, but 1 in heaven. Camping out his position, making sure he can't get the bomb down. And it's been a couple of clean rounds here for Big. Economic surplus for them over the last 2 rounds. So, of course, the quota of damage Complexity need are to get 3 players down to make sure that the rebuys come in and everybody's running at a deficit. But they don't do that. This allows Big to have that op, lots of money in the hands of everybody.
But also that Complexity aren't getting bomb plants. So the money right now for Complexity, sure, they're going to get AKs, but that's no op for Poison, right? You're not going to be able to get that op in play here to see if you can get a pick on Big on this CT side. And so you're going to have to go for a bit more for the run and gun approach. Nice HE on the BlameF. That's so annoying. Already taking the damage right off the bat. But we're going to have trick nades going in onto the A site. Not going to find anybody, though, sadly, hoping that somebody was playing on top of the hut.
Man, those don't even... Did they land in front of Squeaky? They didn't look like they went too close to the ground, honestly.
I think they hit on hut in case somebody's holding holding Squeak Door from on top of Hut.
Gotcha.
You just get nuked, which is really cool. Like, I love those kinds of plays. It's like the double HE to CT Inferno, same kind of style, right? Where you just, if you're holding it, you're gonna die. Unfortunately, not this time.
So we got L smokes outside. Nobody's crossed, but there's also no CTs to corroborate this information, and so they're blind guessing as to where Complexity are going to attack. But this is the big style. They're comfortable in these spots.
Yeah, you saw the Inferno. Did you see the Incendiary lineup that's going to come in here as well? So if you're holding around here, this could force you off of this angle and make things easier for Complexity taking this upper site.
One last thing to clear as they come out of Squeaky. Opening kill goes their way. Keto still here in Mustang. Ends up getting taken out. 3 trades for Complexity. 2 up on the big clan side. And the odds of a retake are quite low already. We'll see if they'll even attempt it. Trying to phase this smoke. Kizian finds an opportunity. But Rush puts up his second entry of the round. And Tabson will have to peel back into spawn. Not bad for Complexity on the first rifle.
There we go. Complexity given all the room to just set up shop. No pressure out in yard, no push from big, no aggression out there. Allows Complexity to just set up over towards the lobby and execute clean onto the A site. So that must be nice when you have full nades. You're like, cool, well, we have full nades. What did we practice recently in scrims that we know really well? Let's just run that strat and see if it hits. And sure enough, Complexity are going to get on the board. First bomb plant, first successful round for them. I wanted to say the Danish team, but, you know, the mixed team. You know, you do have 2 Danes on there, but...
Gotta have a couple Danes these days.
Dude, seriously, right?
A couple Danes these days. OG, Complexity.
It's like you don't get a CS team without some Danes on there.
Yeah.
But this
it's all that salted licorice, I think it is.
No, dude, do you like that?
No, I don't, but that's why I'm not good at CS.
It's so bad. I got trolled by my in-laws for Christmas where they gave me a big box of that. Like, here you go. And I was like, thank you. This is fantastic. I love this.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and it stayed on the shelf.
I mean, and just like that, actually, I thought Big would have a little bit more money to buy, but you know, they recycle the hot rod. They don't have enough to invest in upgraded pistols or anything else. So, another quick round. Triple nade to the back of the site.
Damn, I just want this to work so bad.
Yeah, and you know what? In some way it does, even if it doesn't touch them, because in the next rounds, you know, you're going to feel uncomfortable wanting to play there. So conditioning can work in mysterious ways sometimes. They find an opening kill. They find out it's kind of pistols here, but it's also Xantaris on pistols, so let's not get too excited. A nice flick, get some damage through the wall, but Rush is about to hunt down his friend beside him, make sure there's no refrag available.
And you're always trying to find, you know, Xantaris, I mean, I was talking about just career high performances. I mean, Tizian is the last one to really overperform in terms of frags.
Sure,
big.
for sure.
But like Xantaris is kind of the linchpin for this team in terms of individual performance. And right now, past 6 maps, the guy has been smashing people. Of course, that's against teams like Blink and Apex, so it's not like, you know, tier 1 opposition. But those tier 2 guys frag. Those tier 2 guys hit hard. And so for him to be popping off, that's going to just build his confidence going into this match, because it felt like he hit a dip recently where he wasn't quite connecting. And so, you know, good to see him hitting some shots here.
Yeah, I hate to put it like this, but I feel like in 2020, I kind of had Xantaris a little bit overrated. You know, his stats dropped off quite a bit towards like tier 1 play. But yeah, as you're mentioning, recency is very important, and recently he's been amazing.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, you're starting a fighter out, right? You got to give him a few confidence-building matches, right? You don't want to just let him get smashed right off the bat. You want to give him an easy opponent, let him ease into it. Well, you know, you're big or playing against guys like Apex and Blink. I mean, that's going to be a good moment for Xantaris to just like, okay, you know, warm up a bit, get flowing, get some confidence, and then you go in against Complexity and just, you know, smash him right out the gates. He's sitting at 6 kills already. So far on this map, which is solid, no doubt about it. Keto, though, we're still waiting on him to get in the action, but I guess, you know, his teammates just aren't leaving him too much to work with.
Yeah, I mean, that last round, you know, they had the L smokes outside and some nades that came through, and Big they took the pacifist approach, didn't really respond to any of it. Here, it's a different approach. Searson will get right in their face. A fantastic flick, about 30 degrees right there onto Blame F, and Config trying to pepper shots through the smoke. Ends up doing damage to someone in mini, and Poison looks like he was almost setting up for the refrag. What a shot by JKS. Action all across the board, all parts of the map. The communication must be absolutely hectic right now, because Complexity are tearing Big a new one at all different parts of on either side at the moment. And this leaves Xantaris in a position where he's already considering saving. I mean, how are you going to win this? What did we just watch?
That was a scramble.
I mean, I don't often do play-by-play. So this is like, you know, throwing me to the wolves.
We're having
around
fun.
like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just right in the deep end. You know, you don't get a warm-up, Wanders. You just go straight in, man. I expect nothing but the best from you right out the gates. No, but this felt like a scramble, didn't it? Where it's just both teams are scrambling, trying to get purchase on one another, and eventually it's Complexity who managed to get ahead of Big. They're just a little bit too fast. Not expecting Poison to re-aggress like that on Searson. It really makes me wonder, how did Searson die to Poison? Just because the smoke wall was up. Searson got on the other side of the smoke wall, so he uses Complexity's smoke wall against them, lets him get out of there, and yet somehow Poison gets the kill. So was Poison up on Silo? In all that chaos, we kind of missed where Poison was set up with that AWP for the T side. And so he was able to get that trade frag, and then that kind of starts the ball rolling back in favor of Complexity.
I think I saw it. I think he actually was just outside, but he jumped up on the box.
Okay.
And then
so he
crossed
sees
out
over
towards Mini. Yeah, so maybe he just caught him on the rotation back in. But yeah, when there's so much chaos, I mean, I always think, like, what are the comms like right now? Footsteps don't matter for the next 5 seconds.
True.
You know, there's a bunch of things that happens when you create this level of chaos. It's the real Furia effect, I guess. And it might have been unintended, like, considering how slow and Pacifist Big were playing that previous round. Maybe Complexity didn't expect them to meet him halfway, but Big certainly paid the price of that attempt. I'm very curious if they'll try it again in this next rifle round, but yeah, maybe that rifle round will come sooner than we think and go to the team that we didn't expect to win. With Searson opening up an op frag, he's in 2 places at once now. Got one on the cross and turned his way into heaven, got one inside of Huts, and now it's a 3-on-5. Make that a 5-on-2 for Big Clan. They've upgraded to 2 AWPs. Did they already have that?
This is outrageous. They saved one of them.
And then Terrace, you know, an unlikely opper, is peppering shots through the squeaky smoke. JKS eventually is going to get taken down in the back. Whoa, Tabson. He's patient, but maybe a bit too much. JKS, he'll punish him for taking that duel, and JKS is trying to claw this round back if he can. Rush will get the bomb down and is planted for control room. There's no one in Heisenberg to stop this, and JKS has moved his way into stopping the ramp push. Searson, he'll have lines. He'll take Rush out, and that's all Searson will need. Three kills on the round already. JKS in the clutch. Very low HP, but he gets an opper out of the round. Xantares also has an AWP. If he gets Xantares, this one-on-one will certainly favor him. HP or not, and there's Xantares out. Bomb is planted on the back of the site, and JKS gets taken down by Keto. With the bomb planted there, he has no choice but to peek. Could have came around into control room, into the doors, but didn't know it was going to be a 10-second stick.
Yeah, exactly. How do you not think that the guy had... Well, on an eco round, I guess maybe he's thinking. Maybe he has a kit, maybe he doesn't.
That's true. It could be worth a gamble.
But that is really brutal for Complexity. It's such a shame that JKS loses it. And really what's going on right now is it feels like Complexity, they're letting themselves get into these this time it was Big who were quicker in the scramble, who were able to get ahead of Complexity and actually, you know, make use of that saved AWP. This is why it's so important to try and get saved guns off of your opponents at the end of rounds, because just one gun in the right place can make all the difference. And so if you have these oppers that are going to start feeling it on Big, Searson in particular, who used to be the anchor for Big, the real heavy hitter, loads of sprays. Xantares with the triple through squeak. Get wrecked.
Oh man, and that's the entire plan. Oh, but
Vision getting a bit ahead of himself there.
Yeah,
man.
he does. The bomb is still behind enemy lines at the moment, and everybody seems to be comfortable playing with fire. Tabson even pushing himself. He gets punished.
Dude,
At
Blame
the
F
cost-
crouch peeks that?
That's crazy. At the cost of some HP here, but Blame F's like, where would I be? You know?
That's so nuts.
Reads into himself. He's in the mind of Tabson. Another, you know, high frag in IGL. And on low HP, the round is actually somewhat recoverable. Will they actually let Xantares down, who should have instantly won the round with those 3 kills, is a question. A silent drop down the vent, and this is on a timing that they might not be aware of at all. He is safely downstairs and looks to be trying to find some kind of flank kill to see if anybody else has gotten curious on the CT side.
This is so bizarre, as now Xantares has got this angle covered towards main. And so this is all going to come down to timing. Xantares, he's watching main, so if Config comes through here, he should get caught in just a moment's time. 30 seconds on the clock. He's pre-aiming, but that's not going to save him, not when he's that low HP. And Searson catches Blame F on the flank as well. And so Big stabilize. Got a little dicey there for a second, but Xantares with the triple spray down. I mean, that's just a hard counter. You're throwing it out there, and he's just like, nah, I've got an A4. I'm just going to put 30 rounds through here, and, you know, it's a slaughter.
Yeah, I love seeing things that the A1S can't do, you know?
True, even though I use the A1S.
Oh, use the A1S?
What do you use?
I mean, the only reason I don't is because I'm not good enough.
I've always used the A1S. That's the thing. As soon as it came out, I used the A1S, and I just never switched off of it.
I definitely like it more, and I have better skins on the A1S, but I'm just not good enough with it. But okay, Poison, he's good enough with every gun, especially the AWP.
What a sick peek.
That could have changed the course of the round instantly if you got that kill. Don't know where they would have gone off that. If they would have just peeled back or just gone for a full A exec, but
I think you peel back and reset, right? You're just like, cool, now they have to spread out.
And now I don't even know if he scopes. They might not be aware that he ever made an appearance in the hut, and they seem to be flagrantly peeking from the back of Silo right now. But look at Poison. He's kind of instant transmitted to the top of Silo outside. And we almost got that coveted op duel between two very up-and-coming oppers that, you know, have really made a name for themselves in this past year.
Searson made his name for like being the king of consistency, right? Just always delivering. It was actually getting a bit ridiculous how good he was for Big in that last year. He's kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of individual performance lately, but still, I mean, he is super solid. Nice flank coming in here from Rush, just gutting the defense on the upper site. Keto and Zantares caught completely unawares. It's almost as if they were expecting somebody to be watching Yard.
Wow, there's a huge gap outside, and I mean, it's usually Blame F to make that lurk happen, to come through Mini, but, you know, a Rush, a man of many hats, and even on this slow kind of crawl around outside, it was just such an exploitable weakness that wasn't clear to Big at all.
Well, let me finish my point. When, you know, the action's that quick, you can just go right back into the previous thought, which was there's a lot of focus on Poison right now, I think. You know, coming in on complexity. You know, I was saying it going into the match when we were talking, where I'm just like, I'm a little concerned when the in-game leader is the top performer on a team. Just because, you know, right now the meta so heavily favors ops, and you really need your opera to be popping off. And I'm looking at the last recent performances over the past couple of weeks from Poison, and I see a lot of red in the column for him on his HLTV rating, and I'm like, you know, that's when he came back after the break that he took at the end of last year. You know, it was looking like, okay, the team is fired up, but it felt like the team was fired up, not necessarily Poison. I feel like we're still waiting on Poison to really step up on that individual level and start, you know, creating those openings for complexity. Because, I mean, right now you really need that op to just find that kill and back off. That's why I was excited there for a second to see him take that aggro peek and hut. It's like, cool, okay, yeah, these are the kinds of plays that we need out of oppers right now.
And he's not scared at all. But yeah, you know, whether or not he takes that option is a different question. Searson, he slowly built out his game last year, was, you know, very CT-sided, would fall off completely on T-side, fixed that problem. He became a top 10 player last year, first German player in CSGO to be in the top 10, and I think first German pro to be in the top 20 in CSGO, and top 10 ever in all CS history. I'm pretty sure I have that right. There's some crazy stat like that.
Well, okay then.
He made history this past year with his, you know, placing the top 20. And, ooh, on a sliver of peak. He doesn't get the shot in, but he gets some good information. Some fast-crossing players will tell them something. However, it is just him now on the AWP once again. Everybody else on pistols around him.
Combat opping.
Yeah.
Gonna hold at the top of hut. No, he's gonna rotate up. Okay, using this as a way to get up towards the rafters. I was about to say, I mean, you could just sit there point blank on Squeak and feed the op to him as they come through the door. Nice shot from Tizian.
Oh my God, Jack's absolutely hungry hippos his head off right there from the steps. Claps it off. And now it's a 3-on-4 situation. I'm not going to favor anybody because we've already seen Big win a round just like this. And Poison will immediately move into the rifle to favor some mobility. There's a player on the top of the hut. He has a chance to maybe get a shot off. No, quick whip back from Poison, showing off his versatility here. Now maybe missing his op a little bit, or potentially worried about somebody recovering it downstairs. But it's with that Big don't really now have the option to go for a retake.
No, they're kind of stuck, aren't they? I mean, you can get these pistols into position. Keto, going to get caught on the flank. He's looking to get into hut, maybe catch somebody unawares. But now when you have this AK and the AWP, pretty sure both of these guys are just going to be trying to back off and save these guns.
So where are we in this game so far? Similar, about 10 rounds deep. It's, you know, we're tied up now, but does it feel tied up?
It feels so close. it does feel tied up, and it feels tied up in terms of it's almost exactly what you expect between these two teams at this point. It's just the maps that they play in both of the last series, where admittedly Big won, they're going to overtime. It's like they're so close, evenly skilled. And so, yeah, 5-5 in the first half here on Nuke. I expected a scrappy match, and turns out we're getting it. It's just weird that, I'm still not used to that, where it's like, oh, yeah, Nuke, 5 rounds on T-side Nuke. And I'm like, this is fine. Once upon a time, that would be a disaster for the CT side, and you'd just be thinking, okay, the map is over. But, as we saw, you can still come out ahead on T-side Nuke and still have a match on your hands.
I'm really feeling like Big are quite uncomfortable with this, dealing with the outside presence for Complexity, letting it come to them, and it feels like Complexity are starting to sniff that out a little bit more, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to go there. Searson at least has been quite good about at least an opening kill, and wow, Keto just walks right out into Poison.
Sniped.
He had no idea that Keto might still be in heaven in that position, and he goes for that risk. Looked for a similar pick potentially in that last round. But, yeah, the punishment is in and out. The kind of coming up on a minute, smokes outside as per usual.
Is that another reason to go for the A1S, man? No tracers. He didn't know where he was getting shot from.
True.
He's just stuck.
He couldn't even tell. Yeah, all he could tell his team is that he died. Not how, not by who, not where.
Ever so slightly. I like this late lurk coming in here from Blame F, though.
Yeah, and the CTs, they've almost never been a secret in this position. They've never actually disrespected these smokes. They don't even put spams through it, and it looks like FlameF is going to try to phase this. He gets one over on taps, and Keto uses a lot of bullets in this position. Doesn't run out, but still doesn't get his kill. 4v3. HP still favoring Big. But that player advantage, being able to spread the map and constrict on a position is quite scary for the CT side. Searson from within the hut. Will they know that he's here? Looking now into heaven, smartly comes out wide for that kill. And doesn't hold a totally passive position, spins around, is aware for himself, does not need a babysitter, and finally puts a nail in the coffin. Blame F in hut. That is, sorry, Blame F from hut. That is just fantastic from Searson.
Oh, it's so terrific. I mean, he sees the flank coming on the upper. They know that they've lost control of the situation. They're ramping, giving it up after Keto put up one hell of a fight. To be fair, he definitely wounded those guys, but they saw the upper crunch coming. And Searson, man, right now, this bodes so well for Big. If you have Xantares in double digits at 11 kills, Searson in double digits at 10 kills, these are your two heavy hitters. These are the two guys you want feeling the game and just hitting shots right now. This is where it really should feel like Big are going to be unstoppable in this match. And look at this, the more confidence plays coming out of Searson.
I don't know if they don't flash for him on this repeat. Poison was posted for a second. He's been kind of impatient with where he's held these angles from. Oh, sorry, that's a rifler up top. His Poison's maybe meandering inside somewhere, holding for a push. But Searson, I just love the confidence right now. Before,
the trigger discipline.
He was way too timid here. He doesn't even bite on this flash, and he'll even come out for some more. But somehow, of all shots, misses that one. Gets some damage in on Poison, at least way in the back lines, and eventually will fall out. But this is good info. They saw 3 outside. This is a position where Complexity are going to instantly be afraid of some kind of lobby crunch. Will actually come back to try to defend against it, and Blame F tries to make some waves outside, but they've already lost a player. They've taken a lot of damage on Poison, and Rush now gets spotted coming out of the Squeaky. Will he get this kill? Looks for it, finds it. The trade comes through. A flash to assist with the refrag on Keto. 3-on-3 situation, and there's a lot of pressure on Squeaky, which means they can drop vent if they'd like to. They've got one outside, and they're starting to clear stuff out. The bomb gets dropped, and it looks like they're going to go for a front side plant.
They set up that smoke as well. Give a little bit more room here for Searson to work with. Poison sees it coming, though. And now with the bomb planted, this is going to be an extremely difficult retake. As Big need to find a kill quick. Blame F, not going to let it happen. Takes down Searson. Gets traded immediately. Tapson with the double, though. And now Poison alone, and he's already been legged. He's down to 17 health. One bullet will do the trick, and now he has to worry about all of these different angles. Tijan coming up behind him, and he doesn't stand a chance. Too many spots to worry about there.
This map really has been an A1S commercial, and I shamefully have to admit, man, just using the M4A4 as a crutch. I need the extra 5 bullets. But I'm thinking about making the switch.
Gotta work on that aim.
That was, it's all about the aim at the end of the day. Look what Tabson did with just that, one mag and just very few bullets left in that mag. That was really, really nicely done.
To be fair, that is not supposed to happen, right? He should be getting 1, but 2 out of that situation. That's a hero play coming in from Tabson. And, well, again, you pointed that out earlier, right? fragging in-game leader. He's a guy who can carry his weight. He can just get in there and make those kinds of plays for his team, and that was a key factor in why Big were able to win so many matches and really climb the rankings before. You know, it's just like there was no weakness on the team. Then they got into the doldrums a little bit towards the end of last year, beginning of this year. We were saying that they were getting burnt out, too many matches. They were playing too many Tier 2 tournaments, right? When they're qualified for Tier 1, they're still playing in like Meisterschaft and whatnot. You're sitting here thinking, is that worthwhile or not?
Sure.
Are you
loading? They played like a Tier 2 team, but they were a Tier 1 team in some way. With
burnout is a
many,
thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no one's immune except for maybe Flame. We don't have Flame seems to be completely immune to it. JKS can't find the forest from the trees, and
there is actually. Did you see that stat from HLTV released recently, where they released that infograph where it showed how many matches, official matches this year, Tier 2 teams played versus official matches Tier 1 teams had played, and I think like Sprout had played like 3 times the runner-up of Tier 1 or something crazy like that, where those guys are just grinding. So maybe we're cutting too much slack. I don't know. It's up to you guys. You know, let us know what you guys think.
It's a personal journey for some different capacities, and also the amount of years played for some of these players is so greatly different at this point. But okay, can Complexity make anything happen? They've only got pistols on this round 13, nearing the end of the half. Big starting to finally peel away a little bit. I really feel like Complexity have not done an amazing job about. Oh. Wait, before we talk about anything else, actually, they've got real odds here now with Heaven Control coming up. Nanteris can save them in this position, but the Flash takes his attention long enough to allow his teammates to come out of Heaven. Rush will get the bomb down the back of the site. 2v3 retake. Tizian, Searson still alive. Full kit in hand. Tizian finds the first kill. Searson from up top comes out, but the Deagle is too